You are listening to the It's Logical podcast, Episode 8, Psychic Abilities. I've often wondered if the human mind has access to something beyond our immediate senses, some latent ability to peer into the future, or at least sense things before they unfold. I'm reminded of a time in my own childhood when I dreamt of a simple, everyday scene. A friend picked up a small object from the ground and tossed it skyward. Days later, the scene played out almost exactly as I had dreamt it. Now, I was a kid, always playing outside, always throwing sticks or rocks. So was it mere coincidence, a routine replay of ordinary events in my head, or something far more mysterious? As we grow older, these small flashes of apparent clairvoyance either deepen our belief in the paranormal or strengthen our resolve to seek a rational explanation. And sometimes, just sometimes, events occur in such a profound manner that even skeptics are left momentarily speechless. Take, for instance, the moment I bought a bracelet for my fiancée, engraved with the words, "With God all things are possible." The very next day, our pastor delivered a sermon centered on a biblical creed he claimed surpassed all others: nothing is impossible with God. The timing was uncanny, making it seem as though something greater than mere chance was at play. Even someone committed to logical reasoning can admit that this coincidence was remarkable. But are such psychic flashes or meaningful coincidences truly extraordinary proof of supernatural phenomena? Or might they be natural byproducts of the way our brains operate? Perhaps these events point to deep cognitive processes that constantly analyze patterns, forming predictions we're not consciously aware of. Or maybe some genuinely spiritual tapestry weaves through our experiences. We live in a world where psychics, mediums, tarot readers, and astrologers all purport to tap into hidden forces, offering glimpses of the future. The truth might be less about otherworldly powers and more about the Barnum effect, the tendency to find personal meaning in broad, vague statements. Still, this does not diminish our deep desire to understand whether unseen forces are truly at play. Whether you label it biology or divine guidance, there is no denying that our brains are capable of extraordinary feats, and that alone is worthy of deeper investigation. From the earliest days of recorded history, stories of prophetic visions, mystical seers, and supernatural foreknowledge have permeated human culture. Ancient civilizations in places such as Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley often consulted oracles or prophets when crucial decisions had to be made, whether in times of war or in affairs of state. There is something undeniably alluring about the possibility that certain individuals possess a unique capacity to see beyond ordinary perception. One famous example involves the Oracle of Delphi in ancient Greece. Around the 8th century BCE, travelers from near and far sought counsel from the Pythia, a high priestess who was believed to relay messages from the god Apollo. While many of her pronouncements were cryptic or ambiguous, participants in these rituals frequently reported them as strikingly accurate prophecies. Modern scholars have proposed that geological features beneath the Temple of Apollo released trace gases that may have caused her trance states. Yet, to the ancient Greeks, her words were unequivocal proof of direct communication with the divine. In the Judeo-Christian world, the Hebrew Bible references prophets like Isaiah, Ezekiel, and Daniel, whose visions purportedly provided clear directives from God. Such narratives helped shape Western interpretations of prophecy for centuries. Meanwhile, other regions developed their own traditions. In ancient China, methods of dream interpretation and I Ching divination were collectively referred to as mantic arts. The Norse tradition included seid, practiced by shamans known as vulva, who were reputed to channel visions of the future. Indigenous societies across the globe had their respective shamanic rituals as well, illustrating that the belief in prophecy or special insight is not confined to any one cultural framework. By the Middle Ages, Christianity dominated Europe, casting suspicion on anything deemed magical. Yet, paradoxically, seers and fortune-tellers still found an audience. Even monarchs sought out astrologers, hoping to glean glimpses of the future in the alignment of the stars. Michel de Nostradamus, better known as Nostradamus, published his Les Prophéties in 1555. Many interpreted his cryptic quatrains as predictions of everything from the rise of Napoleon to major world conflicts centuries later. However, skeptics noted that these verses were so vague that individuals could read multiple meanings into them, a characteristic echoed in what we now call the Barnum effect. In the 19th century, Western culture experienced the rise of spiritualism, especially in the United States and the United Kingdom. Mediums like the Fox sisters claimed to converse with the deceased, using raps and knocks to spell out messages from beyond the grave. Public seances turned into major social gatherings. Figures such as Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, celebrated for creating Sherlock Holmes, became vocal supporters of spiritualism and even wrote extensively about mediums and spirit photography. Although many of these mediums were eventually exposed as frauds, including confessions from the Fox sisters themselves, spiritualism maintained a substantial following, fueled by people's enduring hope in an afterlife and higher dimensions of consciousness. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a more scientific approach to studying psychic phenomena emerged in both Europe and North America. The Society for Psychical Research, SPR, founded in London in 1882, investigated hauntings, apparitions, and reports of telepathy with as much scientific rigor as they could muster. In the United States, psychologist J.B. Rhine at Duke University attempted to evaluate extrasensory perception, ESP, by using Zener cards, simple symbolic images, to test subjects for telepathy, clairvoyance, and precognition. While some experiments showed results above chance, many critics pointed out methodological flaws and the possibility of researcher bias, demanding more stringent testing conditions. Even so, some parapsychologists still argue that evidence for psi phenomena, though subtle, persists across studies. During the latter half of the 20th century, psychics and mediums gained more public exposure through television, radio, and then the internet. High-profile personalities like Uri Geller, who claimed to bend spoons with his mind, and Sylvia Browne, a self-described spiritual teacher who made frequent appearances on daytime television, captivated audiences worldwide. Investigators like James Randi, a stage magician familiar with illusions, regularly challenged such claims, exposing many alleged psychics as employing simple trickery. Randi famously offered a $1 million prize to anyone who could demonstrate paranormal ability under controlled conditions, yet nobody ever successfully claimed it. Alongside this mainstreaming of psychic performers, another cultural fascination gained momentum: astrology. In newspapers, magazines, and ultimately on websites and apps, people devoured horoscopes that promised to reveal fortuitous days for romance, finances, or health. Skeptics often pointed out that these readings were vague enough to fit almost any circumstance, a hallmark of the Barnum effect, whereby individuals perceive high personal relevance in broad statements. Today, online psychic services, astrology apps, and tarot readings constitute a multi-billion-dollar industry, underscoring a paradox in modern society. On the one hand, scientific and technological advances continue to expand the boundaries of what we understand about our universe. On the other hand, a significant portion of the population still seeks counsel from psychics and astrologers on matters ranging from career to love. The advent of rigorous skepticism has placed more pressure on modern psychic claims. People are now generally more aware of cognitive biases and techniques like cold reading, which makes them somewhat more guarded when encountering psychic phenomena. Yet the desire for enchantment, closure, and mystery remains a powerful undercurrent in our collective psyche, ensuring that interest in psychic matters does not dissipate. Indeed, many individuals insist that behind the countless anecdotal stories, cultural traditions, and personal experiences lies a genuine spark of psychic ability that defies standard explanation. Psychic phenomena intrigue us precisely because they appear to outstrip the boundaries of conventional science. Yet compelling as these stories can be, research in psychology, neuroscience, and sociology typically presents more mundane but equally fascinating explanations. It is not that people fail to experience something intriguing. Rather, our brains are far more capable of pattern recognition, probability assessment, and memory distortion than we often realize. Thus, much of what we label psychic can be traced back to phenomena that are neither trivial nor supernatural, but indicative of the mind's astonishing complexity. One particularly relevant mechanism for explaining psychic readings and horoscopes is known as the Barnum effect, or the Forer effect. In 1949, psychologist Bertram Forer famously handed out what he said were personalized personality evaluations to his students. In truth, he had given everyone the exact same list of vague statements pulled from generic horoscopes. Nonetheless, most students judged their profiles to be highly accurate. The key lies in the generality of statements such as, "You have a great deal of unused potential that you haven't yet turned to your advantage." Most people can see a bit of themselves in such claims, interpreting them in personally meaningful ways. Horoscope columns, psychic readings, and even some forms of counseling capitalize on this psychological quirk. A psychic might begin with a broad statement, "You're someone who values friendship deeply, yet you often feel misunderstood." And clients fill in the details from their own lives, convinced the statement is uniquely tailored to them. We are natural pattern seekers and storytellers, continually filtering and rearranging the world to match our internal narratives. We often disregard material that does not align with our expectations and cling to whatever reinforces our self-image or aspirations. This unconscious process helps a psychic's general statements feel uncannily accurate. Another crucial concept, confirmation bias, intensifies this effect. It refers to our tendency to notice and remember information that aligns with our existing beliefs, while overlooking or forgetting what contradicts them. If a psychic makes 10 guesses about your life, and only one seems to hit the mark, you might remember that single success while ignoring the misses. Everyday life offers many parallels. Suppose you dream about a friend you have not heard from in years and then run into them unexpectedly. It is tempting to assume your dream was a premonition, even though you have dreamed of countless people without any correlating real-life occurrence. The coincidental alignment of dream and reality glows brightly, obscuring the many times your intuitive hunches went nowhere. My own experience as a child, dreaming of my friend tossing a stick into the air, felt profoundly psychic at the time. However, as I grew older, I recognized that it could just as easily have been a product of mundane coincidence, given how frequently we played and threw random objects around. The more astonishing experience with the bracelet and the sermon about "nothing is impossible with God" still feels deeply significant. Yet from a purely statistical viewpoint, remarkable alignments of timing happen more often than we suspect, especially when we factor in how frequently millions of daily life events coincide for billions of people around the globe. Some psychics use techniques called cold reading and hot reading to produce what appear to be precise insights about their clients. Cold reading involves making educated guesses based on observable cues, clothing style, body language, emotional demeanor, tone of voice, and even subtle hints in one's reactions. A savvy reader might say, "I sense a strong female presence in your life, someone who either passed on recently or is dealing with chronic illness," because many people can relate to a grandmother, mother, or aunt who fits that description. Once clients respond positively, the psychic refines their statements, zeroing in on more details gleaned from feedback, creating the illusion of authentic clairvoyance. Hot reading, by contrast, involves digging up information in advance. In the digital age, unscrupulous psychics can glean a startling amount of personal data from social media profiles or public records. When they then appear to know intimate facts about you, the effect can be jaw-dropping. Yet it may simply be a result of research rather than supernatural knowledge. These persuasive feats are bolstered by our general difficulty with probability and statistics. If a psychic suggests, "I'm sensing a name that starts with J," and you confirm it is your Uncle John, this can feel powerfully spot on. Yet J is one of the most common initials in many English-speaking countries, making that guess statistically likely to land. Random chance, taken across large populations, can create spectacular-seeming coincidences. Mathematicians refer to this as the law of truly large numbers. Events with low probability, but many opportunities to occur, will inevitably happen to someone, somewhere, sometimes in astonishing ways. The human brain is also adept at pattern recognition beneath our conscious awareness. a phenomenon studied in depth by neuroscientists. Research has shown that individuals can detect statistical regularities in sequences of stimuli without realizing it on a conscious level. This may explain how hunches arise. Our subconscious mind notices patterns that our conscious mind has not formally identified. When these hunches or gut feelings are correct, it can feel like a psychic flash. But the phenomenon is more likely attributable to the brain's remarkable ability to process information invisibly, rather than any mystical ability to see the future. A major academic controversy occurred when psychologist Daryl Bem at Cornell University conducted experiments that he believed demonstrated precognition. Published in a reputable journal, Bem's studies suggested that participants responded to stimuli they had not yet encountered. Critics, however, pointed out potential methodological flaws, small effect sizes, and challenges with replication. Meta-analyses generally failed to reproduce Bem's claimed results, attributing any anomalies to random noise or researcher bias. Nonetheless, Bem's work is still cited by parapsychologists, who contend that academic circles sometimes dismiss revolutionary data too readily. Underlying all of these discussions is the role that belief and expectation play in shaping what we perceive. When individuals earnestly believe in psychic abilities, they tend to pay greater attention to potential psychic hits, actively seeking or even cultivating experiences that confirm their expectations. This can become self-reinforcing, especially if one's social circles or community value psychic insights, mediums, or spirituality. None of these social and psychological mechanisms necessarily invalidate the depth or sincerity of personal experiences. They simply highlight the powerful factors that can manifest as psychic events, even when no true supernatural cause is present. Despite considerable scientific scrutiny and increasing public awareness of psychological explanations, myths about psychic abilities persist. The narrative of foretelling the future, reading minds, or channeling otherworldly knowledge has a strong hold on our collective imagination, perpetuated by everything from sensational TV programs to personal anecdotes shared on social media. Among the most prevalent misconceptions is the idea that psychics can effortlessly read minds. Popular fiction often portrays clairvoyants who gaze at a stranger and immediately glean intimate secrets. In practice, so-called mind reading typically comes down to cold or hot reading. When tested under controlled conditions, where the supposed psychic receives no hints from body language, advanced research, or the subject's reactions, evidence of genuine telepathy becomes virtually non-existent. Organizations like the Committee for Skeptical Inquiry have conducted numerous experiments, all of which undermine claims of mind reading under scientific protocols. Another widespread notion is that horoscopes provide accurate insights into one's life trajectory. Astrology persists as a billion-dollar industry, buoyed by daily columns, dedicated websites, and horoscope apps. Yet when researchers conduct large-scale investigations, sometimes involving thousands of subjects, they seldom find any correlation between astrological birth charts and actual personality traits or life outcomes. The fascination with horoscopes endures partly because of the Barnum effect. Statements like, "You thrive in social settings but sometimes feel self-conscious," could describe just about anyone, yet when it appears under a specific zodiac sign, people interpret it as uniquely applicable to them. There is also a popular belief that psychic detectives help law enforcement crack otherwise baffling cases. While psychics occasionally claim to have aided the police, the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States has gone on record stating that no major crime was ever conclusively solved using purely psychic input. Psychics may provide tips that eventually coincide with some aspect of a case, but such correspondences often emerge from broad guesswork and typical patterns of crime. Only the hits are reported publicly. The misses are conveniently forgotten. Some parents and observers insist that children are more psychically attuned, pointing to instances where a child just knew something before it happened. Children can indeed be more candid about their imaginings and less constrained by adult logic. They are also extremely observant, picking up subtle clues about their environment. Still, research does not substantiate the notion that children possess special clairvoyant powers. The seeming precognitive moments likely arise from the same combination of probability, pattern recognition, and selective memory we see in adults, only amplified by a child's vibrant imagination. Many professional psychics boast high hit rates as proof of their authenticity, but these numbers can be deceptive. Without systematic controls, it is easy to inflate one's success rate. A psychic who rattles off a long list of guesses, some quite vague, will inevitably stumble on a few correct hits. Clients in a vulnerable or hopeful emotional state then overlook the many errors and highlight the psychic's hits as extraordinary. Magician and skeptic James Randi demonstrated repeatedly that even a skilled mentalist without any paranormal ability can appear to achieve jaw-dropping accuracy through careful guesswork, cold reading, and an understanding of human suggestibility. Several forces combine to keep these myths alive. One is emotional comfort. In a world rife with uncertainties, the promise of supernatural clarity can feel deeply reassuring. Another factor is a cluster of cognitive biases, including confirmation bias and the Barnum effect, which make psychic claims appear more robust than they truly are. Cultural and social validation also matter. Many societies have revered shamans, seers, or oracles for centuries, and to dismiss those practices outright can be seen as cultural insensitivity. In modern media, sensational stories about psychic miracles grab headlines, overshadowing more mundane explanations. Finally, there is a strong financial incentive to perpetuate psychic myths as the industry is lucrative, drawing clients seeking hope, guidance, or connection with lost loved ones. Still, even as we use science and skepticism to demystify much of what is known as psychic phenomena, there remain elements of human consciousness and experience that are not fully explained. Some anecdotes are so detailed and uncanny that they resist easy categorization. People report dreams that seem to predict enormous global events or near-death experiences where they glean verifiable information that they seemingly could not have obtained while unconscious. Critics might explain these cases as misremembered details, lucky guesses, or incomplete information, but a few stories remain stubbornly puzzling, challenging us to keep our minds open. A subset of researchers and thinkers has speculated that quantum mechanics, with its bizarre phenomena of entanglement and non-locality, might hold clues about consciousness or even psychic experiences. Though this is often criticized as conflating separate scientific domains or misusing quantum concepts, it points to an important principle. Our current knowledge is always provisional, and reality may be stranger than we assume. Some frontier studies, like those of the Global Consciousness Project at Princeton, try to determine if collective human emotion can influence random number generators during major events. Critics find methodological flaws or suspect post hoc analysis, but these studies persist in asking whether human thought can, in any measurable way, affect external data streams. In spiritual or religious frameworks, experiences that appear psychic are often interpreted not as clairvoyance but as signs of divine intercession. For believers, events like the uncannily timed sermon about nothing is impossible with God might serve as testimonies of grace, guidance, or even destiny. Since faith-based experiences often lie outside the purview of replicable laboratory experiments, these beliefs can continue unimpeded by scientific critiques. It is a domain where personal conviction and subjective meaning hold significant weight. For every claim that is debunked as trickery, bias, or chance, there is another that stands as an outlier, lacking a conclusive explanation. Scientific inquiry encourages caution, urging us to avoid attributing unexplained events to the supernatural by default. Yet it also invites open-mindedness about phenomena we currently lack the tools or understanding to analyze. Many natural occurrences once deemed magical, like lightning or magnetism, eventually yielded to the progress of science. Could aspects of so-called psychic ability eventually be understood the same way? Possibly. Or they may remain in the realm of subjective, deeply personal experiences that defy neat categorization, rooted in the intricate dance of memory, perception, and belief. Reflecting on my own experiences, I admit to feeling occasional wonder at the mysterious nature of coincidence. The childhood dream about my friend tossing a stick, or the profound timing around the bracelet inscription and church sermon still evoke a sense of awe. While I recognize the role that probability and psychological factors might have played, part of me remains open to the idea that our existence is woven with subtleties we have yet to fully comprehend. However, it is crucial that this openness coexist with critical thinking. Throughout history, and certainly in modern times, psychics have captivated the public imagination, offering glimpses of the future, insights from the beyond, and powerful affirmations of identity or destiny. Yet, as we have seen, the Barnum effect makes generic statements feel tailor-made, confirmation bias filters our memories in convenient ways, and probability ensures that occasionally astonishing coincidences can arise purely by chance. To call such experiences psychological phenomena does not belittle them. The human mind is an astonishing labyrinth, brimming with creativity, intelligence, intuition, and emotional depth. Whether one interprets a meaningful coincidence as direct evidence of God's grace or sees it as an example of natural cognitive processes, the fact remains. Our perceptions and interpretations shape the realities we inhabit. It is equally valid to approach these experiences with a sense of awe at what the mind can achieve and a sense of responsibility to question extraordinary claims that lack verifiable proof. As I consider the question of genuine psychic abilities, whether telepathy, precognition, or mediumship, I must conclude that ironclad proof has long been elusive. Investigations, both historical and modern, typically show that alleged psychics cannot reproduce their supposed feats under controlled conditions. Still, extraordinary claims and personal stories continue to surface, sometimes accompanied by sincerity and conviction that defy easy dismissal. This persistent tension compels us to keep asking questions about the boundaries of consciousness and the subtle ways we might access information. We therefore arrive at a crossroads. On one path lies skepticism, an essential guide that prevents us from falling prey to hoaxes and encourages us to seek logical, empirical explanations. On the other path lies openness, a willingness to entertain the possibility that our scientific models, though robust, might not yet capture every facet of reality. The capacity to hold both perspectives simultaneously, to uphold the rigor of evidence-based inquiry without dismissing the marvels of personal experience, is arguably the hallmark of a truly inquisitive mind. In the end, history is filled with enigmas, and the human appetite for wonder is unlikely to diminish. People will continue seeking comfort in psychics, mediums, and astrology columns, looking for hope, clarity, or simply the thrill of glimpsing beyond mundane life. Others will dig deeper into psychology and neuroscience, revealing fascinating mechanisms behind our perceptions, memories, and biases. And a few will devote themselves to studying edge cases, searching for signs of an undiscovered psychic principle. It is logical to question everything, but it is also human to embrace a sense of wonder. If you have ever felt that uncanny shiver when a dream seemed to manifest or experienced a moment of synchronicity so precise it felt orchestrated, you know that these flashes can be genuinely impactful. They may not hold up under laboratory scrutiny, but they speak to the rich interplay between mind, environment, and possibly something beyond our current grasp. Let that sense of awe inspire further curiosity. Let skepticism keep it balanced. After all, each of us navigates life's mysteries in our own ways, fueled by intellect and shaped by personal experience. When it comes to psychic phenomena, it is worth remembering that compelling anecdotes, heartfelt testimonies, and widely believed myths do not, in themselves, amount to proof. At the same time, people's lived experiences, those coincidences that feel like divine winks or the fleeting sense of having glimpsed future events, remain an integral part of our collective story. Whether you choose to see them as biological computation, unconscious priming, God's hand at work, or something else entirely, they remind us of how intricately the mind weaves meaning from the tapestry of daily life. Our quest to unravel these mysteries should continue with both humility and determination. The same drive that fuels our fascination with the paranormal has pushed humanity to explore the ocean's depths, scale towering mountains, and peer into the farthest reaches of space. We crave answers, yet each answer often leads to a flurry of new questions. Psychic phenomena, then, stand as one more frontier, an invitation to study not just the cosmos, but the realms of consciousness itself. In that pursuit, it is logical to respect evidence, question bold proclamations, and remain open to possibilities not yet fully understood. After all, without curiosity, we lose the spark that makes us reach for the unknown, and without skepticism, we risk believing every whisper of magic, no matter how easily it might be explained by the brilliance of our own minds. This concludes episode 8 of It's Logical. Thank you for listening.